In his book, The Product Manager's Desk Reference, Stephen Haines calls product management the accidental profession. It's kind of strange, but it's true. Very few of us actually started out as product managers. We found our way here over time. So today, we're going to hear some stories from product managers at Product Coffee about their career path before they were product managers and what led them here, as well as some of the characteristics they believe will help you be successful as a product manager. Well, like a lot of people, I discovered product management pretty accidentally. Back in the late 90s, I started a boutique web design firm. I was basically just an independent web developer. Started building websites for small businesses in the area. And when I was starting out, like a lot of web developers did at the time, I would sell websites for really cheap. I'd do them for free sometimes, and when I actually billed, I was having a bill rate of about $25 an hour, I think, if I remember correctly. But what happened is, as I got better at building websites and built a bigger client base over time, I was able to raise my rates up. And so that $25 an hour became $50 an hour and $150 an hour. And my schedule stayed pretty full. But I had clients that had been with me since the beginning that didn't really want to pay my new premium rates. And I always kind of felt like I should give them their original rates just because they'd been with me since the beginning. So I started developing some little tools that I could use to manage their websites once I had them in place and keep their content updated a little bit more easily and cost effectively for myself. I was showing those tools to one of my clients one day, and he said, "Jason, if I had these tools, then I could just manage my own website, and I wouldn't need to pay you. I could just pay you, a monthly fee for the software." And I said, "Well, that seems like a pretty good idea." So I asked a few other clients, and they were on board with it. So I decided to commercialize those tools that I had written and created a company called SiteTamer. And I ran that for a few more years and finally sold it about the time my son was born and went and took a contract job with Bell South and AT&T. It was during the time of the merger. And that was the first time that I really started to learn about product management. I took a position in the broadband product management team and worked on several different products at the time and really started to discover this thing called product management just on a consulting basis as a product consultant for Bell South. It was pretty cool. I really liked it. And this was also about the time that Twitter was getting started. So I was checking out Twitter because I was, an early adopter, and I got connected to a bunch of people who were having hashtag chats about the product management topic that are still going on today. And through that, I met some really cool people and had some really fun conversations, and really kind of the more I read and the more I studied, the more I knew this is exactly what I want to be doing. This takes all of the things that I love to do and rolls them into one role, one position. So I started looking for other product management opportunities. And this was also about the time that Product Camp was starting up. There had been one out in San Francisco, or in Silicon Valley, actually. There had been one in Austin. And I really wanted to go, but I couldn't justify taking a trip like that at that time of my life, going over to Austin to see a product camp. And my friend Stuart Rogers, who's another product manager that I met on Twitter, convinced me to host a product camp here in Atlanta. And that's where that started. And through Product Camp Atlanta, I met some folks at Silverpop. And that was actually the evolution of going from dreaming about being in a product management role to actually getting a job as a product manager for Silverpop. They invited me to come work with them, and through that time, we I joined Silver Pop, and then IBM acquired us, and then we spun out Acoustic from IBM from the same portfolio. So the reality is I've only had one product management job that was true product management, but I was doing product management when I was running Site Tamer. I just didn't know that I was doing product management. I didn't know what it was called. I just thought I was being a developer. So it was really a fun ride. When I think about characteristics or qualities of great product managers, I think one of the most important characteristics you can have to be a good product manager is really an insatiable curiosity. You have to really want to know why things work the way they do, why people think the way they think, why they ask the questions they ask. It's the why. Great product managers never stop asking why and digging deeper and deeper. They don't settle for the easy answer either, because the first answer that a customer gives you is very seldom the real answer that you need. That insatiable curiosity is what really drives great product managers.
So my name is Oate Morass. So I've been in product management pretty much my entire career. I have a background in computer science and business management. So I learned how to code, I learned to be a developer, and I hated it from scratch, basically. So I couldn't see myself having a career uh, doing programming stuff. And I basically why I hated it is that I was missing the interaction with somebody. I was missing interaction with a customer that could, talk to me about their pain points and everything. So I moved quickly to what was at that time project management, but it was pretty much sitting with the customer, understanding their pain points, understanding their requirements, and then talking to the developers about how could we solve their problems. Working on new products, new versions, and so on. So I think I guess I was a bit like you, Jason. I was in product management without really having the title at that time. And so I'm originally from France, moved to the US about 10 years ago. I've been in global product management pretty much my entire life, and that's something that I really love, is to understand the different cultures and how the experience in the country and their environment, their day-to-day environments affects your customers, their experience with your product, and what they really need. So that's pretty much about me. You asked the question about what is the biggest quality that you think a product manager should have. I think for me is the listening skill. And it's, being able to just listen. I always say, shut up and just listen. And it goes by saying that you also have to listen to the silences, because we tend, when we're doing an interview, to, try to jump and ask more and more questions and everything. And I'm a big fan of just let it sink in. Somebody's telling you something, just wait for 10 seconds, let the silence take over, and you'll see that usually the person in front of you is going to be uncomfortable in the silence, and they're going to try to add more, and you're going to learn so much more than you ever thought you would, and things that you would never have thought asking, basically. So yeah, I think that for me the listening skill is what is the most important for a product manager.
I'm Jessica Landison Williams, and I came into product management moderately recently in my career. I started with studying electrical engineering at Rice University, and then went down to Johnson Space Center and became a rocket scientist. And then, after doing that for a while and enjoying it and recognizing the limitations of working in a large bureaucratic organization, I wanted to see how the other half lived, aka private industry. So I decided to go into Windows software development early on because I figured I could live anywhere in the world. Uh, Roll forward a couple of decades, I'm in the same house that I bought when I initially decided to go into Windows software development. So for quite some time, I enjoyed the challenge that I describe as designing and building puzzles. which is software development. I find it fascinating. It's very rewarding. It's collaborative. It requires you have an enormous desire to learn and grow because the technologies change very frequently, as well as the platforms. And after a period of time, became a development manager, was doing product management work with a mobile team to develop a software for anesthesiologists and nurses in hospital setting, and did the product marketing uh, training for product management. And what I found is that as someone like Jason, who's very curious and loves to read, I found that where I was reading most was at the intersection of business and technology, and not so much right at uh, 100% technology 24/7. So that's when I decided that I wanted to become a technical product manager. And as they say, the rest is history. I have loved being at that intersection of technology and business. I am an extrovert, so I love talking to people. And to Ode's point, to listen. I think that for me, the most one of the most important qualities is once you have listened and taken input from all key stakeholders, both internally and externally, as well as doing your market research, it's synthesizing that information. So the ability to take all this disparate and sometimes competing information and to synthesize that and come up with a vision and a strategy that is compelling for your stakeholders so that you get the green light to move ahead.
Uh, Name is Michael Barnes. So I have a electrical engineering background from undergrad at Ohio State, and after leaving Ohio State, I did a technical sales engineering role at Eaton Corporation, which is a power management company in Smyrna, Georgia. And it was in that role I got a chance to really kind of dive deep into customer pain points and providing solutions for my clients, traveling over the state of Georgia. And so that was kind of like introduction to product per se, but really understanding the customer and what they wanted. And so in 2017, I decided to go back to school, got an MBA from University of Michigan, and it was at University of Michigan I got my first exposure to product related roles. I did a product marketing internship at Microsoft in 2018, working on Microsoft Azure promotions, and really getting a chance to kind of dive deep when engaging with stakeholders in marketing and product. I had heard about product management while I was there from the Xbox team. I had talked to a few employees there, and it told me to read the Cracking a PM interview book. I still really didn't understand product management, but I thought it was pretty cool to learn about being at this intersection of business, engineering, and technology. So finished my second year at Michigan, and then I decided to do a post-grad internship at StockX, which is an e-commerce startup here in Detroit. They're similar to eBay in a number of ways, and that was my first like core product role. Even though it was an internship, I really got a chance to like work in Jira, do refinement sessions, grooming sessions, and really kind of get a chance to do the agile ceremonies on a day-to-day basis. And I really liked it a lot. Got a chance to work on MVP, working with different stakeholders, developers, product team members. Then I was able to transition here in Detroit to a company called Amrock, which is in the real estate title insurance space, similar to Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage as an associate product manager, and been working on their product strategy team since August of 2019. So still fairly new in the field, but I love it. I love the fact that I get a chance to have my hands in a number of different projects, working with different stakeholders, and every day is different. And so I have been able to kind of leverage that sales experience and my MBA to excel in the role. And I would say a huge skill for me that I find value in is customer empathy. I think a lot of times as product product managers, or even sometimes engineering, can kind of just have a one set mindset on this is the way that it should go, and this is the way we designed it, but not kind of taking a step back and thinking about, well, what does the customer think about this, and really being able to empathize with them. And so that's something that I find value in.
Is there anything you uh, So let me start by saying was I also have a background in engineering. I have a degree in computer science. And I started my career as a software engineer at HP and then Samsung. I worked on a bunch of Android apps. We worked on an app called S Health, which is your basic step counting health application on Samsung. But it had a unique feature where it could connect to a lot of health devices, like your blood pressure monitors, blood oxygen monitors. And I never saw Samsung kind of talk about those benefits, because the way I saw it was traditionally people go into your doctors like once a month to get this measured. But if they do it at home, they have like 365 data points. They do it every day. The more data there was, it's obviously going to be better for that for that patient. And I never saw Samsung kind of market that. So I was really interested in why we never marketed that benefit. And I thought, we didn't take a customer first approach to that. So then I came to the US to get a degree in engineering management. This point, I had no idea of product management. So I was just coming here to figure it out. I would never recommend anyone do that. Go for a graduate degree to figure it out. And I got introduced to product management by some of the people who were in the program. Tried really hard to get a product job, but it was really difficult at that time. It wasn't very popular 5 years ago. So I was in Atlanta. I connected with an alumni who told me, "Hey, just check out Tag, check out Product Camp." Long story short, I went to Product Camp. I met somebody there, and I spoke to him after the event, and he hired me as a product analyst on his team at Home Depot. And then I worked as an analyst for a couple of years, and then internally, when there was a need for someone to take up a product role, I kind of moved into that role, and I've been here ever since. So one characteristic that I would say, I actually have two, a good one and a funny one. So one characteristic I would say is similar to what other people said, and that is to just read a lot, because you never know what you're going to learn, and you can always take that back to your job. At the end of the day, your boss, your leaders, they don't care whether it's original or whether it's you read it off someone's blog in San Francisco, because it's going to help the business, right? The humorous one I have is that it's great to have a great poker face, because when you get bad news from your engineers that something's going to be delayed, or your UX partners that they don't agree on the direction that you decided like last week, it's great to have a great poker face and just ask them like, okay, why do you think that? Let's dive into why this is happening. Obviously, if you're remote, maybe it doesn't matter. Nobody can see you pulling out your hair. But otherwise, having a great poker face is a fantastic skill to keep those relationships strong.
So I'm Howard Chalmers, and I have been in a ton of product roles throughout my career, and I had sort of a roundabout way of getting to product management. So I started off right out of college as a consultant, did some software development, moved into project management, got an opportunity to build and lead a customer support team for a product that I had been implementing for a while. Did that twice, worked for a little startup, got to do, wear multiple hats there, implementation, customer support, a little bit of custom SQL for customers, and found that through all of that, the thing that I enjoyed the most was the customer interaction, and sort of got the most satisfaction around. And then the startup that I was working for got bought, and I ended up moving around with that product in a couple of different roles. Also, again, sort of some project management and some customer support there. And when we got we had a new chief product officer that came in, and she was responsible for all of product development, product management, everything rolled up to her. And she brought Marty Kagan in to help her have some conversations and restructure the product team. And so Marty had some interviews with some leaders, probably interviewed 40 or 50 folks. We did a week-long workshop, and then he stayed around and consulted with us for almost a month after that workshop. And it was a conversation with him where, he said, "You've done all of this stuff. You're in the wrong role, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sort of, I've always had this opinion of product managers and their ivory tower, coming up with all these ideas that the rest of us real workers had to go and execute on. But what I learned was, because of the customer interaction and because of the creativity required, product management is probably the most fulfilling job out there. It's one of the hardest, but it's amazingly fulfilling. So I ended up taking a product management role at that point and have done that for the better part of the last decade, and in individual contributor roles and leadership roles, and love it. Just absolutely love it. So I've heard the number one skill is curiosity. I've heard the number one skill is listening. I think the ability to synthesize is critically important. But to me, the most important thing is the ability to not be emotional when someone calls your baby ugly. You've got to be able to take feedback and take criticism and learn from that and take your product in the direction that it really needs to go to solve the true need.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I also had a slightly non-traditional path into product management. I grew up in Atlanta, went to Georgia Tech. My dad was a professor there. Actually stopped going to Georgia Tech for a couple of years to be a chef, which teaches you all kinds of interesting customer-focused things. Realized that working nights and weekends for $8 an hour and hanging out with vampires and alcoholics was probably not a good long-term life plan. No offense to those people in the restaurant industry. And so I went back and finished my degree at the same time as I got a job at a help desk. And if you want to have an appreciation for good and bad UX, work on a telephone help desk before there's screen sharing. This is like 1998 or something. So it's like Windows 3.1, and I'm trying to talk pharma sales reps through UIs in Windows 3.1 over the phone. Good times. Anyway, got my degree, worked in a really propeller head job at CNN for a while, and then sort of got a twitchy because what I've learned is I need to balance the propeller head and the suit in me. And so I went and I got an MBA, did management consulting for a couple of years, and then leveraged the work I'd done on email, specifically at CNN, in my last client at the consulting company, which is a company called CBeyond. They're a former telephone company for small businesses. And they needed somebody who had email experience to launch a hosted email product. So I came in and I did that, and that was the first time I'd ever heard of what a product manager was. This was 2008. That's when I met Jason. And so I had this job I'd never heard of, but it was a lot of the things that I had done before, understanding customers and their problems from the help desk, even from the time at CNN, understanding internal and external customers, and like, what is it you really want to do? You say you want to do X, but maybe that's you're solutioning instead of actually telling me what your problem is. And it was that perfect balance of propeller head and suit for me. And so I just took that, and I have run through, I don't know, half a dozen companies or a dozen companies at this point, small, medium, and large things, startups. Went through Techstars. And then finally, I'm now at Google as a product manager on the Gmail team up in Canada, of all places. So then in terms of the important product manager characteristic, I love all the things everybody else has said, curiosity and how that relates to listening skills, being able to have empathy for users, synthesizing info. The poker face is a personal favorite. And then I also like Howard's don't be emotional, be able to take feedback and criticism. And so what I'd probably say is the next thing that is interesting on this list would be the ability to both focus tactically and think strategically. It's two very different mindsets, and at different parts in your career, you need more or less of one or the other, but you need both in some mix at all times. So you need to execute on the current project. You need to do the things that you have to do right now, but you also need to be able to, have a 3-year vision and be able to compellingly rally your engineering team around that vision. At the same time, you're answering their exact questions and moving their blockers. So.
Hey everybody, good morning. My name is Zack Smith. I am currently an associate product manager. So if those last two were like winding paths, everybody buckle up because mine's kind of a roller coaster. I went to Georgia Tech and got my degree in public policy, which a lot of people don't even know is offered at Georgia Tech. Right out of school, my life, go Jackets, my life choices brought me to chiropractic school. And I actually spent 3.5 years in chiropractic school, got my degree, got out, got into practice, found out it was a lot different than I was expecting. Got out of practice, worked in some restaurants, eventually found decided to go, couldn't find another job or another practice, decided to go into the corporate world, use my healthcare knowledge to kind of pivot into a healthcare IT company. Started out as just working the phones, doing customer success. Actually started out as tech support, moved into a client success, customer success role. Just that totally drained the life out of me. I heard we were having a business analyst position open. They were kind of fleshing out the product management department, and I was like, yes, I got to do that. This sounds awesome. Had no idea what product management was before that. Was just working on the phones and was like, started doing research and was like, yes, I think I love this. I love solving puzzles and like creating things, but I had no development experience. So couldn't go that background at the speed that I wanted to get out of customer success. And they filled it with somebody else. So I was like, that can't happen again. I went and got my CSM. I became a CSM. Did not know what a Scrum Master was until I was done with the course. I was like, oh, okay, what I probably should have done was my CSPO. Went and got that. And then after a couple months, the business analyst that they hired didn't work out. And I was like, I'm here. I'm your guy. I've got what you're looking for. And I got the job. Was a business analyst. Worked on writing stories, basically working with a product owner, kind of in a junior product owner capacity. I eventually started helping the UX team. I've got a big passion for design as well. And then after a few months, got kind of restless again, moved over to a new company where I'm at now, and got an associate product manager role. And I oversee a team of 2 developers and work in telecom IT now. So that is the roller coaster of my career path. And I'd say coming from somebody who's probably a little lower on the totem pole than sounds like some people with more experience, I'd say a good trait to have is definitely flexibility, because if you don't bend, you'll snap in half.
Hey guys, good morning. Yes, Charlie, Smiley. Thank you, Jason. I've been in product management since started in 2000. Fell into it like probably most of us. It's as you talk to people, a little bass backwards. I started with Earthlink back then, if you guys remember. Earthlink's still around, obviously, and there's a couple of folks on the call that I recognized and I have worked with at that organization. Came to work from somebody I worked with in a previous life, like odd. I was a developer before that, not a good one, didn't want to do it, and had gone to school for it and realized that was not the path. And a guy I worked with in the past had said, come, we're implementing product management at Earthlink. I said, great. Had no idea, like most of the folks on the call, what it was. So learned on the job. It's great. There are a lot more product resources around today than there were in the early 2000s, obviously. A lot of great organizations like this. I do appreciate that. Have gone through a myriad of companies within the Atlanta area, including Auto Trader, Knology, a cable company, Verizon Connect as well. So I think the biggest thing, and I think Zach stole it from me. I was going to mention, I was really going to go and say, flexibility is key. But I'm glad he mentioned it because it just iterates the point. And I think John also mentioned the mix between tactical and strategic. You have to remain flexible as a product person because it's not a defined career. It's not a defined discipline. I'm sorry, let me say that back. It is a defined discipline. It just depends on where you go. Every organization practices it differently. And I think you may be a strategic product or strategic thinker and go to an organization that needs a tactical kind of approach, or you may be a tactical person and go somewhere and they want you to plan out, a 5-year roadmap kind of thing. So I think you have to take what you've learned, be flexible, and apply those skills to the organization you're in. And that can be, I think that's the biggest challenge with us is trying to, because also not only do we have different, if we went around the room right now and said, what is product management? We'd get about 20 different answers. It's worse with people who are not in the profession, because you go out and ask somebody what is product management and you'll get 100 different answers, and most of them are not, probably wouldn't align with the 20 answers that you got here. So I think flexibility, to Zach's point, is very key in the role you're in, taking your experiences, applying that to the organization, helping them grow, whether it's a mature product organization or an organization that doesn't have a product organization, or an organization that doesn't have any kind of product discipline at all.
So I've been in product management a long time, since 1996. I started my product management career at Bell South. Jason spent some time there. One of my clients was Earthlink. I heard Charlie speak of Earthlink, and if there's a couple other Earthlink guys here, hello, good morning. I used to work very closely with Jim Anderson, and my mission was to bring high-speed internet to the Southeast, and that's what really brought me. I spent my early career at Turner Broadcasting. I graduated from college in Philadelphia, moved to Atlanta, worked for Turner for a number of years, and then transitioned into technology, telecom in '96 when the internet was just becoming commercialized. So it was a very, very exciting time to be involved with the internet, and frankly, that was what my catalyst was. I'll bring you back to 1996. Bill Clinton signed the Telecom Act of 1996, introducing and mandating competitive telecom services into local markets. And Bell South at the time was looking for people from just competitive backgrounds. They spent much of their or all of their existence up to that point as a monopoly. So they hired some people from Turner Broadcasting, from Coca-Cola, from UPS. They also recruited a bunch of fresh talent from the universities local in the city. So it was a really exciting time to be part of it. I was in telecom for 9 years. I transitioned to software in 2005, and I've been in the banking software business since, selling payment products to banks and credit unions and brokerages. So I changed jobs, employers, just about 9 weeks ago. I work now for U.S. Bank, which is very interesting. It's a large, highly matrixed organization, so I'm still trying to learn how to best navigate. But I've been in the vendor side for 15 years. Now I spend a little bit of, now I'm spending some time on the client side. So it gives me some extra insight. It helps me further develop customer empathy. So I think those are strong characteristics. I love product management. I've really never have tired of it, and I've been doing it now for 24 years, which is really hard to believe. So I appreciate all of the inputs from this morning, reminding me of the curiosity, the empathy, the listening skills, taking criticism. Now, I was going to say product management is not rocket science, but Jessica has proved us wrong on that. So I would contribute: driven to achieve an interesting outcome is perhaps not yet. And we just have to be cautious. We don't necessarily preconceive what that interesting outcome is, but if we're persistent, there will be an interesting outcome. And of course, we need to maintain an open mind to be flexible, because our preconceived outcome might in fact turn out to be wrong.
Hi, everyone. As I mentioned kind of to the earlier group, I actually started in teaching. So my name is Joey VanDerman, and I'm actually a teacher for math and French for high school. That's what I went to Michigan State for. I spent some time in France actually getting to teach, so Ode bonjour, and came back from France and went, okay, one of my favorite questions to deal with when I was working in schools was, when am I ever going to use this math? Never, right? So then I decided that I wanted to find some sort of math job, figure out what can I use here for education. So ended up in a data quality / QA role, kind of in both worlds there. And we didn't have product owners at the time in that organization. And so the people that were in the teams were really being the product owners, as well as doing, the work that they were already doing. And I was fascinated. What are you doing? Like trying to get all these requirements, like you're talking to different people, you're working together, trying to make it all work. And the person who was doing the product owner role was a developer who didn't want to be doing it. And so he kind of taught me the ropes. And then as a product owner role became available, I snagged it up. And that kind of started my journey into product ownership. And then about a year ago, the company that I was in got acquired by Equifax. So now being part of a matrix organization, a little bit more structure around product management in general. Very interesting journey to see how different companies handle the same ideas, the same concepts of trying to get things out the door. And really working with people on how to make that happen. So for me, the one skill that I find the most important, listening was mentioned earlier, just gonna hone in on active listening, being actually able to focus on what it is that people are saying, be able to reiterate it back. And basically you're creating that relationship between whoever you're talking to and yourself to be able to build that bridge, get some buy-in from the people that you're talking to. I find buy-in to be very important in all the work that I've had to do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Diane Bowman. I've been in product management for about 8 years now, starting first as a product owner and then moving into the product management role. Worked very closely with Jason, who's helped me very much along that path. I too have a winding road to my career, but I find that it really has come full circle for me. I began my career in the arts. I started out as an actress. My degree is in theater and in music. I spent the first part of my career in New York. I had an opportunity to tour the nation in various tours and doing a variety of things. And what I have really enjoyed about product management is how all of the skills that I learned, whether it's listening, breaking down characters, stage management, because I love the whole craft, has really served me well. I find that a lot of those same skills translate. And after I did that for a little while, I actually ran a small theater for about 5 years myself, and that was wearing many hats, being the product, being also the artistic director, producing director, marketing director, a little bit of everything, right? So I really enjoyed that. And then one of the things that actors do is we have survival jobs. And so I did a lot of contracting and ended up at first Unisys Corporation, documenting hardware and software. And what I would do, I would read everything, of course, that I would write. And I started to learn more about that industry and really enjoyed it and realized I could make a little bit more money doing that. So I'd reached the point where I wanted to get rid of my college furniture and get off the road a little bit. So started to go down that path, working with everything from data center management. I was part of the group originally, bellsouth.net, that stood up the internet for this region, and moved there from documentation and training into project management for infrastructure, all those sorts of things. And from there, just ended up in business process improvement. And once I found Silverpop through a friend, they said to me, they said, it seems like all the things that you do would really fit well in this role. And I really hadn't even considered product management from that point. I got into it and I found that to be completely true. I certainly love to present. I love to listen to customers. I love to break things down. And all of those really suited well for the role. So I find that at heart, I am a storyteller. It's in my DNA. I love to explore the data. I love to be the driver of finding the new things that are really going to impact a customer's lives. And that's where, for me, probably the biggest takeaway is the voice of the customer. Because as an actor, I feel like I'm going to take on that person's point of view and be able to share that out and affect the people that are listening to me and affect the people that are wanting to help me change that and make that enhancement for that product, to whether it's my associates that I'm working with or whether it's the people that are the recipients of the product. I want to affect people's lives and make it better on a daily basis.
My name is Kurt Pulaski. I'm a product manager for a number of years now. We'll get into that later, but I started off, my sordid history is a mix of the other people that you see on the other videos that we're doing. So I started off like Jessica, actually, at NASA. And I was a research scientist in the space program. She was at Johnson Space Center. I was at Marshall Space Flight Center, and I remember working with her people. I was a research scientist in artificial intelligence. I got my graduate degree, my undergrad's in physics. I got my graduate degree in artificial intelligence at Georgia Tech. That's what brought me south, actually. So I've been here ever since. And so I did artificial intelligence for the space program for a number of years, wrote a bunch of papers, started basically the things that would have been my PhD at Georgia Tech. I left with a master's instead. I did 3 years of PhD research, and I said, you know what, this stuff is like really, this is the early AI, not the current AI, right? So it's all come back around, which is great. But in the early days, it was a few ideas, and I was like, this is going to help a lot of people. So let me just like take the master's, go into NASA, do the applied research. And then I did that for a number of years. I led the machine intelligence group there, and then got hired into a company that eventually went public with the AI solution that we were doing from NASA. I wrote a bunch of papers, spoke at conferences, and people knew who I was. And they were like, hey, come help us commercialize this. So I did. And to one of your points is nobody had a label for that back then, but it became a product manager. They called it different things, or different people did it. I turned it into a consultant, because when we actually delivered the solution to the market, it was a fast time to market, and it went into the call center space to cross over on what a couple other people said. And we went public on that. And in that 10 years, I went from consultant to VP of professional services. And I was probably in over 100 companies consulting from anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks each time. And that gave me a really good background on all types of companies and all types of needs. But mostly it was AI for the call center. But call centers are to support all kinds of businesses. I mean, from manufacturing to finance to, just about any, retail, any segment you can think of. So that's a good background to have if you can get that kind of breadth. And then we got bought. I went into mergers and acquisitions eventually, and I did my own acquisition, which gave me a package to leave. And then we got acquired by somebody else, and I was out. So I was self-employed for a while, And then I went back into tech, got back into the call center actually, because I knew it pretty well. I even did some AI for DoD, and back working on AI for autonomous drones before people knew what drones were. And we were like finding bad guys and making their days a problem for them. So, and then, you know, it was before you could get like your nephew a drone for $200 on Amazon, right? So the AI went into there. And then a boss looked at me in 2004 and he said, "Hey, you know what, Pulaski? You've been our VP of professional services." Because that was my experience. The VP was of professional services, which was tech support, education, and consulting. Yep. And he said, "You would make a good product manager. We're going to move the professional services over to one of the two founders of the company I was working for at the time, was a CTO. So he became CTO and professional services. And he said, you're going to be a product manager." And you made a point the other day, is like late in the 1990s, there wasn't a job title for that. And there wasn't a curriculum for that. There wasn't a certification for that, but people were kind of doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. And so that got moved over to him, and they said, well, services got moved over to him. And then I became a product manager. First time I actually carried that job title, and that was 2004. Okay, so, and then since then, you know, I was a CTO. I've been a VP again at Scientific Games. I was a VP of product management, which was another ladder I had to climb to get there. And then more mergers and acquisitions, and I got invited to go be successful somewhere else, which happens these days. And I got a package, and I did another stint, and now I'm at VMware, and I'm very happy, and I'm back in product management officially. So that's the background. That's how I got where I am today.
Cool.
So and then the next point was, what does it take? What are the characteristics, I think, of a good product manager? Mm-hmm. I've had hiring responsibilities over these years. I told you, VP and things like that. And one of the things I always looked for in good product managers was a background in one of three areas: professional services, making solutions work for customers, because then they know what those solutions need to have in them, right? Tech support, because they're taking those phone calls from people who have those problems, and they're like, gee, if we just did this feature or this feature or this feature, we could avoid all these problems, right? And sales engineering, people who are doing the demos to the customers who are going to open their wallets and pay for a solution, and those people also know what the solution needs to have in it to generate revenue, monetize. So those are the three areas I always looked at. So if you have a background in those three areas, that's good. If you don't, try and get it. Sometimes we saw people from BA backgrounds, and that's good, but it's not good enough in my experience. BAs are really good low-level thinkers. We've all talked about the ability to mix tech and business. Mm-hmm. By the way, after I got my VP at the professional services company, I did go back to Georgia Tech and got an MBA. Yeah. Like some of the other people that we've done these interviews with. So it is. I got the tech, physics, artificial intelligence, and MBA, and so that helps too. So that kind of landed me where I am today. The CTO was a good thing too. But back to the characteristics. So we talked about soft skills are important. Right. People skills, persuasion, poker faces, those types of things. Getting people aligned when they don't report to you, right? Those are all challenges. But my thing that I didn't hear anybody say explicitly is you need to be a great learner. Okay. An insatiable learner. You always want to learn, and it's not just learn your job. By the way, product management's a hard thing to change jobs on, because you have to know so much about that product that switching to a new company with a new product is hard. Mm-hmm. That's why you need to learn, right? But even if you're in the same company and you're working up through these other ladders I talked about, then make sure you learn fast, and not only learn the product, and learn your own job. But my point that I want to leave you with is you also need to learn everybody else's job. You're always learning. All those personas that you put into your persona analyses, you need to learn those jobs too. The day in the life of those people, you need to learn. Learn their tools, learn their processes, learn the way they think, learn their problems, learn the solutions they need to have. Because like we've all said, they don't always say what they need. You have to figure out what they need.
Right.
So that's it. A great learner.
Name's Manesh Patel, and I've had a career in healthcare for the last 20 plus years by accident, just from a friend of a friend that asked me to join him in a endeavor that was in healthcare, and I was in the finance field. I then got involved with a software company that the same individual asked me to join him as well, to resurrect essentially, and it was a software company that was failing and is about to lose all their clients. And that's how I got into product management, by necessity, to keep the small business running and having all the partitions of the software properly documented and moving forward. There was this thing called Meaningful Use 1 and 2 that the government initiated, where they wanted all the doctors' practices to have a standardized way of documenting patients' charts and report on it. And so that's essentially how I ended up being a product manager. Was, oh, shucks, we need to update the software to meet these requirements. How do we do that? And that's when I started getting into product management, and I really enjoyed it. I really loved the fact of learning what our users actually need and why this application that was quote unquote failing, but the customers were continually using it and would not change over to another application, which really got me excited about, hey, what is it that this thing is so unique about that they're still using it? And I kept to that theme in developing new features as we went along. We sold that company, and I started realizing, what do I do? Where am I going? What am I doing? And then I realized that all the stuff that I do is really product management. And that was at the same time when it also became like a profession, so to speak. You know, like before it was just, this is what you do to get things done and move the company forward with building software. So then that's when I started being more focused on getting certified and learning more about the profession itself. I think one of the key aspects of a really good product manager, and the best way I can explain it, in my opinion, is what a coworker told me. He said, Manesh, if I had a burning house and I had 12 cats and 12 dogs, I would want you to go in there with me and tell me which ones to take out first. So prioritization and understanding the highest value that you can have built out for your software to the company's value is one of the key factors of how you as a product manager and how the company also grows overall for that role. And that's how I ended up being in product and also working in that. So yeah, prioritization and being the understanding the full basis of needs of what the organization is requiring, or that product is requiring, or that your customer base is requiring. All the stakeholders has to be taken into account. I feel it's very important for a good product manager.
We recorded this at our weekly Product Coffee virtual meetup, and I would love to have you join me and some amazing product professionals from around the world every week. If you'd like that, jump over to productcoffee.com and sign up for our newsletter. I'll send out an invitation every Monday telling you how you can log on and join us. And if you love what we're doing here, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like button, and share it with your colleagues. Links to all the articles we talked about today are in the comments below and at the resources page at www.productcoffee.com/resources. And thanks to bensound.com for the great intro and exit music. Until next time, thanks for watching and have a great day.